Hello, I'm Marvin Fant, and this is the weekly 411, or I should say the monthly 411. I haven't been keeping up with it on a weekly basis, but hey, it is what it is. This week, I'm going to be talking about Manny Ramirez. Now, for those of you who keep up with sports or keep up with baseball, you've heard about Manny Ramirez's situation, whereas he was caught, I guess, doing performance enhancing drugs again, and it was, I guess, it was during spring training. Well, instead of going through the process of being suspended for a second offense, and for a second offense you're suspended for 100 games. I know the last time he got caught it was for 50 games. Well, this time it would have been for 100 games. So instead of going through that process again, Manny decided to retire, which was, it's pretty good on his part anyway, because for this season, excuse me, for this season he was batting 1 for 17. So evidently the drugs didn't help out. And for me, hey, Manny, I got nothing against you. Matter of fact, I got love for you. You entertained me for 19 years, drugs or not. For me, I don't really care. But you entertained me. You're one of my favorite players, and hats off to you. I think you should have retired probably 3 years ago, but hey, that's you. And I read where some writers were saying, well, he won't get into the Hall of Fame. So what? To me, the Hall of Fame it's not what it used to be. Back in the old days, guys used the Hall of Fame as leverage to make money, to generate money. Book deals, conferences, speaking engagements, things like that. But now they make a ton of money, whereas you really don't need the Hall of Fame to generate money. Yes, it still has some clout to it, but really, in my mind, not the kind of clout that it once generated. And I was telling my son that if I had gone through a situation like that, which I never would have, because for one thing, I can't stand needles. So I wouldn't have been a drug addict or anything like that, because I just can't stand needles. I avoid them as much as I can. Anyway, the atmosphere in baseball, the landscape of baseball during that time period from the mid-90s up until the mid-2000s, it seemed like everybody was using drugs to enhance their performance. The biggest culprits were pitchers, but that gets overlooked. But the bottom line is, since the majority of players were doing it, so who had the upper advantage? Really nobody. Your God-given talent still had to come to the forefront. Just like with Manny, him taking the drugs now, well, it really didn't do him any good. Like I said, he hasn't been good for the past 3 years or so. So all it did was just make him look aesthetically good, appearance-wise. But as far as anything else, no, it didn't help him out. And he was still injured. His batting average went down. His home run totals have gone down. The RBIs have gone down. So it really is just for appearance sake only, really. But as far as the Hall of Fame, for me, Manny is still a Hall of Famer. Always will be a Hall of Famer. You know what really constitutes a Hall of Famer is when somebody like a Babe Ruth, where years and years later his name is still relevant. A Ty Cobb, even though he was a racist son of a you-know-what, his name is still relevant. Anytime a record is to be broken, if your name is in that number, if your name is still mentioned, then you're a Hall of Famer. Regardless if you got a bunch of writers trying, giving you the say so whether you should be in or not. That's bull. What constitutes a Hall of Famer is if your name continues to be mentioned years later. Heck, there's a bunch of players in the Hall of Fame now I could care less. Matter of fact, I haven't even heard of. And I keep up with a lot of baseball for many years. But there are guys in there where I don't even know their names. They're irrelevant. So what? Their name's in the Hall of Fame. You have to look it up? No, it doesn't make any sense. Especially with these days and times, whereas you can go on to YouTube or Daily Motion, whatever it may be. And if I can punch your name in, on the internet and you pop up, or if I can see especially a video, if I can see a video of you and you're highlighted, you're good to go. If another situation of a Hall of Famer, they show the old clips and whatnot of past games and things like that. Well, if you're constantly in that mix, you're a Hall of Famer. Hall of Fame. Okay? That's the point. Hall of Fame. To me, it doesn't matter if you use steroids. Heck, back in the day, Gaylord Perry, he used to use spitball all the time. That's outlawed. He's in the Hall of Fame. Ferguson Jenkins, he's in the Hall of Fame. He once went 6 years in a row of 20 wins or more. That's outstanding. You know what his indiscretion was? Drugs. I think he sold and used drugs. He's in the Hall of Fame. So please don't give me this nonsense about the steroid situation. Manny Ramirez is a Hall of Famer. He brought excitement to the game. He brought personality, which is, to me, is a real big ingredient. He wasn't boring at all. And especially for these writers who now they want to put him down, but yet he would always give them something to write about. Didn't make their paper boring or anything like that. He gave them food, helped their jobs along, really. But now they want to come down on him? Nah, I don't agree with that. I'm a moral man, but at the same time, like I said, I'm not going to do drugs. But I'm being realistic also. There are a bunch of other guys out there doing the same thing, whether they were good or bad. I'm talking about as far as their performances. Because you had a lot of guys who they did the drugs, but yet they still could not elevate themselves name-wise. You had a lot of guys in the minor leagues who still couldn't get out of the minor leagues because they used it. Your ability still has to come to the forefront. Your talent still has to show up. So, Manny Ramirez, I thank you for the 19 years of entertaining me, because really that's what it's all about, entertaining the fans. Now, it's up to you whether you want to do these drugs or not. That's all on you. But as far as the thing about the Hall of Fame, I don't blame you. Hey, you said you're going to go with your dad, go on a trip somewhere. The bottom line is, now I'm just strictly talking, I'm not even talking about steroids right now. I'm talking about being in the Hall of Fame. If people don't think you should be in, screw them. Especially these days, as long as you make your money, as long as you got your money saved up, you did your money right, you take care of your family, you take care of yourself. So what? That's the bottom line. As long as you got money in the bank and taking care of yourself and your family, that's the bottom line. There are guys in the Hall of Fame right now that are broke. They're broke. So what does that got them? They're broke. They got the Hall of Fame, that title next to their name, but they're broke. There are plenty of guys like that. The bottom line now is, if you're relevant 10, 20, 30 years later. That's the bottom line. You got money in the bank. That is the bottom line. That's all that counts. That's all that matters. Yeah, I said it. I'm Marvin Fant.